Hello everyone and welcome to Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind. I am your friend and host BYBOYM and you are watching your favorite YouTube channel Foundation for NEET. We have already started and begin our course in biology for class 10th for foundation, and the first chapter is life processes, digestion and absorption. Today we are going to begin with the 10th topic, human teeth. You are familiar with burger and pizza? You know that whenever you eat burger and pizza, they are quite hard and you need to break them down into smaller particles, and that is achieved by a set of teeth that you have in your buccal cavity. So what are teeth? Teeth are hard calcified structures that are embedded in the sockets of the jaws. What do you mean by calcified structures? You understand what hard is, but what do you understand by calcified structures? Structures that are made up of calcium are known as calcified structures. So teeth is one example of calcified structure. Another example would be bone. So the next thing is that teeth are not made of bone, but what are they made of? They are made of multiple tissues of different densities and hardness. The teeth are involved in what? Sir, they are involved in chewing. Yes, exactly. But the medical term for chewing would be mastication. So you would remember that mastication is purpose of teeth. Now talking about what is the purpose of breaking down this food? What is the purpose of chewing? What is the purpose of mastication? Then you will say that we want to break large particles of food into smaller particles. And this is where digestion actually begins in oral cavity. We have already discussed in the last video that in terms of digestion, in terms of breaking down of food particles, two methods are to be employed. The first method is the chemical method, which involves the use of enzymes and the use of HCl to break down food. The second method is the physical method. So here in the buccal cavity, we use physical force by our teeth to do what? To break down food particles. But why are we doing this? Why do we need to break down food particles into smaller particles? This is why, because if we break down the bigger particles into smaller particles, then the volume of that food remains the same, but the surface area increases. Or in other terms, you can say the surface area to volume ratio increases. So why are we interested in increasing the surface area? Because the more the surface area is available for enzymatic action, the easier would the degradation of the food be. So that is why we need to increase the surface area of food, and this is achieved by mastication. So teeth are very important. Without teeth, the digestion in the buccal cavity would not start. So you need to take a lot of care of your teeth. Otherwise, you may lose one of the greatest aspects of your life, that is food. So now looking at the structure of tooth, what is the tooth made up of? It is broadly speaking made up of three different parts. And what are these three different parts? The first and foremost is the crown. The crown is the part of the tooth that is exposed. That is what the part you see. The next region is a narrow portion at the gum line, that is your neck. The third is the part of the tooth that is embedded in the jawbone, and this is your root. Now we are going to take a deeper look into each of this structure and what are its respective components. So the outermost layer of the tooth is the enamel. It is the hardest layer. The second layer beneath the enamel is the dentine. It is not as hard as enamel, right? But it is made up of a similar substance as of bone. But you need to remember that it is not as hard as enamel and is prone to decay. The next layer beneath dentine is the pulp. You may see that dentine forms the bulk of the tooth, and beneath dentine there is a live tissue layer, that is your pulp. So what is your pulp? Pulp contains blood vessels that help in gaseous exchange and bring in food material and energy to the tissue. It also contains nerve bundles that helps to transmit information from one end to another. The structure in which this tooth is embedded is your gum or gingiva. The substance that helps to bind your gum to the teeth is cementum. It is a substance. Now you remember that blood vessels are present in the pulp cavity. We have periodontal ligament surrounding the tooth, and we have lateral canals inside the tooth. Nerves are present that help to transmit information. The root canal is the portion of the tooth that is present in your pulp, and this is where you will remember that root canal treatment happens. Now we have talked about the region crown. Now we will see what is happening inside root and neck. The second structure is neck. It is the narrow portion of the tooth at the gum line. The next structure is root, which is the portion of the tooth embedded in the jawbone. A pulp cavity is present inside the dentine. The dentine forms the bulb, and the substance cementum is present around the root that holds the tooth in the socket. Now that we know the structure of tooth, let's move on to see what are the problems that are associated with the tooth. The most common problem is the formation of acid by bacteria such as Streptococcus mutans and Lactobacillus acidophilus. So what happens is that whenever you eat food and the food contains sugar, there are these bacteria that produces acid by acting on these sugars, and this acid that is produced, it results in the gradual slow degradation of the enamel and dentine, and at one point of time this cavity that is forming from enamel to dentine would reach the pulp, and as soon as it would reach the pulp, you will have sensitivity over there. You would remember that there are nerve bundles present in the pulp. So when this cavity would reach the pulp, you will feel sensations, and that is how you get to know that you have formed a cavity. So acid production leads to demineralization of the enamel, and it spreads to softer and deeper parts of the tooth, forming a cavity. So this is all about dental caries or tooth decay, and you would see why it is so necessary for you to brush your teeth. If you do not brush your teeth, dental cavity would form, and slowly it will eat up all your teeth. Now the second problem is dental plaque. It is formed when food particles and bacteria stick to the tooth, and they form a dental biofilm or plaque. So there is a very minute film, there is a very thin film that is formed, which is made up of bacteria. And what would happen if bacteria is present on your tooth? It would form acid. So plaque formation prevents saliva from reaching the inner surface, and because saliva, which is basic in nature, if it would not reach the inner surface, it would not be able to neutralize the acid. And if the acid is not neutralized, then what would happen? Then a cavity would form. So basically, dental plaque once formed would lead eventually to dental cavity. That is why it is so important, again, to brush your teeth and do not let dental plaque form on your teeth. I hope you understood the video and this video helped you. If that is so, please do not forget to like, comment, share and subscribe the channel. We are highly dependent on your feedback to continue with our project. Thank you guys. You are watching Burn Your Books, Open Your Mind.